I'm the only one who's been on Tyler Shuck. I'm at 42.4% of fees.
Hey, look.
You can't be man, what the hell, bro?
What's
you can't
up?
be on Shuck with 40%
Yeah.
backs.
Welcome into another episode of the Signal Callers DFS Show. Today is Tuesday, August 19th. Today we're talking about our favorite what-ifs. You know, what if everyone's got it wrong? We aren't necessarily making any predictions on today's show, more so walking through ways that things could potentially go differently. I'm Kevin. I've got Blake and Trey here with me. How's it going tonight, y'all?
What up, man? Home league drafts are starting to kick off, so I'm like trying to figure out how to shift from best ball mindset to exploit these like ESPN rankings and sleeper rankings. But hey, it's go time, man. You already know. So excited for this one. Got an interesting what if scenario to present today. So
Nice.
where you at, Blake?
Man, I'm good. Just like you said, I'll be out of the country for like half of the next month. So that's going to be an interesting mix of out of the country, flying back from Norway to go to our home draft. That'll be a fun adventure.
This dude
looking forward to it.
Started a website and a podcast, and then he leaves for like a week and a half, like a month after.
Yeah. You know, like to keep myself a little busy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, let's dive into it today. We're going to get started with some news. Let's start off with Daniel Jones being named the starter in Indy, which, I mean, pretty much nullifies like the first three episodes of us talking about Anthony Richardson. But the Indianapolis Colts have named Daniel Jones as the team's starting quarterback heading into the regular season, according to Tom Pelissero. Colts head coach Shane Steichen says, quote, "He's the starting QB for the season. I don't want to have a short leash on that." What do y'all think?
I think I saw Coach Speak Index. They gave him a 30% trustworthy rating or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's probably better for all the skill players, right? It gives JT a bump. It gives Pittman downs whenever he gets back from injury, all that, a bump. But, I mean, it hurts me. It hurts my best ball backs because I have a lot of Anthony Richardson, by himself. So, I mean, the guy's just a game breaker at quarterback, cheat code when he's in. But I guess it's better for everybody else, which I have a lot of Pittman and down. So
I just don't get it. Like I do not get it from a like organizational
franchise
timeline, franchise strategy standpoint. Like this is the 4th overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is your ceiling with Daniel Jones? 7 games. He's a known commodity. Anthony Richardson has had 15 starts. Daniel Jones will be making his 70th start.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, and next Sunday.
The thing about it too is like they knew this coming in. Like when they drafted him 4th overall, they knew that he was going to be a project. He was this staff's first pick, you know?
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, they're already moving off. It just tells you that they don't have the job security that you need to roll Anthony Richardson out there and deal with the lumps that you're going to have to take with him.
The drumbeat out of camp, and my eyes were telling me in preseason that he was clearly outplaying Daniel Jones. Like, he looked like the starter, and we know he's the game breaker. We know he's clearly the better talented guy. But this is a guy that's younger than Shuck, than all these quarterbacks, and they're already giving up on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, apparently his agent's pissed. I don't get it, man. I think like this is a guy that, like you said, he was a project coming out, and you needed to give him reps so he can improve. He got the injury behind him. He came back and worked on the things he needed to, and they just decided to start Daniel Jones. I don't know. I'm still betting or hoping that like he'll be the guy in the playoff weeks from a best ball standpoint, but it's not great news for my A-Rich bags.
Yeah, Galaxy Braining trying to figure this out because I agree with everything you just said. You know, Jim Irsay passed away in May, right? The Colts owner. So I'm wondering if there's something behind the scenes, right? I don't know anything about the ownership over there really, but I'm wondering if somebody's picking up the reins and wanting to make their own changes, right? Set their own tone. So it's weird. Like you said, he's younger than Shuck, but so is a lot of other people. But you probably can't count on, more than one hand how many QEs are younger than him.
I mean, it is interesting, like you touched on earlier, Blake. Almost every skill position's stats take a huge jump up with Richardson not on the field. So, yeah, I mean, my 80 Mitchell bags maybe feeling a little bit better. Josh Downs bags feeling a little bit better. But, the
stacked them all with A-Rich.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So luckily I don't have any teams where I was necessarily counting on A-Rich. So he's just going to be a zero for half the season, I guess, or hopefully
it's actually
half.
kind of shocking to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I did not predict this.
Yeah, let's move on to the next player that we want to talk about. The news hit coming out of Washington is that they are shopping Brian Robinson. So I know that Trey is feeling some type of way about this one. So the quote is, according to the NFL insider Jordan Schultz, the Washington Commanders are actively, quote, shopping running back Brian Robinson Jr. He is entering the final year of his contract after spending the first 3 seasons with the Commanders. Robinson was held out of the Commanders preseason game on Monday. What you got on this one, Trey?
Yeah, my boy Bill, man. Look, we talked about it in one of our previous pods, how like his last year, senior year of ineligibility was like peak NCAA BS. Like it was some jersey number crap, and he got taken out the whole year. So we talk about unknowns. I know, Kevin, you love like the rookies and like when the dopamine hit of hitting on an unknown. This guy's a huge unknown because we didn't see it for his senior season. And for a 7th round pick to render like an incumbent starter to the trade block, like that's significant. I mean, it's not like Brian Robinson sucked. Like they are this confident about this kid to like openly and publicly shop him and hold Brian Robinson out of a preseason game. Like the drumbeat can't get any louder. Underdog actually posted a tweet today. They were like, they're offering a free BBM ticket if you could correctly predict like the closing line ADP value or ADP of Krosky Merritt. I submitted like 117, but I only did one draft today.
Way higher than that.
He went. Where did he go? He went at 133, but then last night he went at like 109. So it's kind of like, you know, I guess as the casuals hear about him, it's going to steam up more. But look, I mean, people think this affects Eckler, and I'm seeing a drop with him. I don't think it affects Eckler. I think obviously it affects B-Rob, and on the flip side, I'm hoping for a B-Rob dip because you got to think wherever he lands, he's going to start, and I'll buy that dip. But yeah, couldn't be more bullish on JCM, man.
And of course, he ripped off a touchdown run last night too.
Last night,
Twitter
and I texted you guys. I was like, "Well, there goes, there goes that ADP."
Twitter was going crazy last night. It was a fun place to be watching that game.
Yeah, so I'm not going to bury the lead here because we'll talk about it later. But
you're about to give us your Chris Rodriguez take, aren't you? Just
pour
water.
Yeah. But so it's Chris Rod, it's McNichols, right?
Noted Bill Krosky Merritt hater Blake Samaha.
Yeah,
and Bayshall too, the hater.
Yeah,
I'm a 3-headed backfield hater, right? I think they just feel really good about all their RBs. It is a new ownership over in Washington as well, right? I think they're going to be very analytics based, and analytics just say, we don't care about running backs. I'm not really super excited about the move. I think they're still going to use a lot of other guys. I think if anything, this helps Eckler out the most.
Their most dynamic runner is still Jaden, you know, so
exactly.
He also ripped off a run last night too. I mean,
pour cold water on the situation real quick, but the Krosky Merritt run wasn't that impressive. That offensive line broke a huge hole.
His first touch, and he ran a freaking.
Did you see the holes? Anybody on that team could have done that.
You still got to run through them.
Yeah, dude. Anybody on that team could have done that. I
like you
completely feel that way.
Be sitting here thinking like you objectively have to naturally be more bullish on JCM because they're removing a guy out of the backfield.
Yeah. So he goes from like 150 to like 140, right, on DraftKings ADP in my mind.
Good luck. If that's the only price point you'll take him, you're not going to get him for the rest of the season.
So in my $100 just now, I passed on at 130.
Okay, you like to do this, Judkins or JCM?
Judkins or JCM? I'd go JCM on that one because Judkins still ain't signed.
JCM or Tootin?
JCM or Tootin. So that one's really hard for me. And that I was looking at JCM, Tootin, and Jaden Blue, right, at that 130 pick, or it was somewhere near 130 at least. And I went with Blue.
Interesting.
I guess we'll see how this plays out. I think that JCM is going to end up probably in the 90s, if I had to guess, or higher. I mean,
you think that high? I think like 100,
dude,
right? I think around the Tyrone Tracy, Jalen Warren.
I think he's going to keep going up, especially
on DraftKings. I could see it.
Yeah,
look what's happening with TreVeyon Henderson. Like, and I know this is
TreVeyon deserves it though.
Yeah, but I
bro.
mean, I think he's going to keep going. I think it's going to be it's going to be pretty high. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is kind of in line with some of the players that we've been talking about. So this is about Jalen McMillan. He will not be ready for the opener. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Jalen McMillan will not be ready for the season opener, according to Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Stroud reported that McMillan suffered a neck sprain. McMillan sustained the injury during their preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers last weekend. And now it's being reported that he could be out through the team's Week 9 bye. And he will likely be placed on the injured reserve with a, quote, severely sprained neck. So, and then let me just touch on the next one because they go hand in hand. Godwin is likely to start the season out on the PUP. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin is still not close to a return from the injury that ended his 2024 season. The veteran required another offseason procedure, and the team now expects him to miss at least the first month of the season on the PUP list. And this is a quote from the Pewter Report. As of August 15th, Godwin has yet to even jog on a separate field with the team trainer during camp this year, much less cut on his surgically repaired ankle or run routes. Egbuka, third rounder by the time the season starts. I mean, there's no end in sight for the team that's coming out of this one. What do you guys have to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first thought, like as if Egbuka needed any more steam.
Yeah.
I'm just going to list off some receivers that he's now comfortably, consistently flipped. Jordan Addison, Khalil Shakir, Rashee Rice, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs, Roma Dunze, Deebo Samuel, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall. He's going around the Zay Flowers, Calvin Ridley, like DJ Moore-ish.
Yeah.
Like, it's getting insane.
He's at 65.
And I see him go now. I see him like today. Yeah. He's in the 50s. Like every draft I do, him and Pearsall go in that 5th round, and it's like, you know, if you want him and you're at the edges, you got to reach.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a bummer for McMillan. He was a guy that I was, I had a little of a bag on because I thought, like, you know, he with the Godwin stuff that he'd be the guy at least initially that would have a lot of opportunity, familiarity with the offense, rapport with Baker. But the neck injury sounds serious for them to already know that, like, the Week 9 bye is like the benchmark. So that basically makes him undraftable in best ball unless it's like super, super late.
He is at 153. So yeah, you wouldn't be doing that.
I'm a buyer of Egbuka. I think the situation has just worked out perfectly for him. I think it's unreal, right? He's sun running right now as far as getting playing time. So
where do you think he goes at in home leagues? Like, where do you think he goes in our league when we draft?
I think he'll go.
Us three are in it, so
I think he'll go probably. It was ADP 60 in best ball.
I think he probably goes 5th round.
Oh, his ADP is at 60, right? So that's the end of the 5th.
Yeah.
So I see him going in the 5th.
Yeah. I think he could probably go a little higher than that, especially once this news starts like disseminating through like people who are kind of like not as plugged in, and people realize, oh, he's like the wide receiver too for, you know, at least the first month. And who's to say he even gives that up when Godwin comes back? You know, if he has a first month like he could be expected to have, he could just run away with it. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know good thing Trey was drafted earlier in the year and he got him in the 90s or later. Because that's never going to happen again. Let's move on to the next news set. We've got Devon Achan unlikely to practice this week. Miami Dolphins running back Devon Achan is not expected to practice this week as he recovers from a minor calf issue. Head coach Mike McDaniel emphasized the move is precautionary given Achan's speed and explosiveness. How do you guys feel about this one? They're trying to downplay it seems, but I don't know if do you have any reservations picking him at this point?
I got him in the 3rd round in a draft today, so that was interesting. And I put a tweet in the document there. I don't know if you want to open it and show people there, Kevin, but there was a CBS Sports injury analyst MJ Sport SPT. He's quoted here in this tweet saying, "I do not expect him to be ready for Week 1. I actually fully expect him to miss possibly the first 3 weeks of the season." good. Let him fall farther. I'm going to keep drafting him, is my opinion. I think he's fine. So, yeah, let him fall. I'm gonna keep picking him up.
If he's healthy all year, obviously he's a smash in that range. The Dolphins just seem like there's like an injury cloud that's just hanging over them at all times. So
there's not great vibes in Miami right now.
Yeah, he look, no back gets more receptions. He's perfect for the DraftKings format. Everything stinks in Miami, and he's the one thing that doesn't. And so they're being real coy about the injury. So, like, I don't know.
Well, it's preseason. So preseason, they don't have to disclose, injuries.
Right.
But we have to bet, like, whether it's on one side or the other. I'm buying the dip. Like, I got him last night. I had the 2-hole, and Chase falls to it. Bijan goes 1. And then Achan makes it all the way back to pair with Chase.
I've done a lot of drafts in the last day or two. Now, granted, they're not all millies, but Chase has been falling like to the 2 or 3 a lot more than he had. Yeah, a lot more often than he was like a month ago.
All summer, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Maybe people are just, the Chase fatigue. I don't know. They just want to switch it up.
They saw the Bengals offensive line.
Yeah, that's
Burrow.
Burrow. Why is he
kill himself
there,
before
dude?
Week 1?
Yeah, get off the field, dude. Come on.
But it's the starters.
What have you been seeing as the most common 101 in those scenarios?
Bijan. Well, I sent this one to Trey, to y'all earlier. I've been jumping in these $3 play action ones, which I think I'd like to maybe do one of these on the pod at one point, just because it is insane in these streets. You saw DraftKings After Dark was some shenanigans going on in there. I jumped into this one. Pat Mahomes goes 101. And then it was Pat Mahomes. Lamar goes 3, and then
Superflex.
Yeah, right. And then Jalen Hurts was the 3rd quarterback off the board in the 2nd round. Joe Burrow flips Josh Allen. I got Trey McBride at the 310. Just craziness happening right now. So jump into these drafts. This is where you can kind of have some edge over some of these guys who are just kind of like doing crazy things. If you have like any sense of a strategy, you're going to at least be in the top half of like EV in these drafts, just because people are crazy out there.
It's going to get crazy. Like we touched on this, but it's going to get even crazier. Like best ball week is this week.
Right.
There's 16, 15 days left of the season.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like peak draft season right now.
Howling in. And so it's like, you have an opportunity to get into a room that lets you do some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, definitely the right time to be drafting.
All right, got a couple more news hits we want to hit on. Flacco was named the starter in Cleveland. Not too unexpected, but the Cleveland Browns are naming veteran Joe Flacco as their Week 1 starting quarterback against the division rival Cincinnati Bengals. Sources tell ESPN's Adam Schefter. This doesn't come as much of a surprise, as this was always expected to be the case. He's been taking most of the first-team reps in practices this summer. It's not too big of a news hit. I mean, this probably gives you a little bit more confidence in the skill players. If you were doing some nasty boy stacks late in the drafts.
Does it, though? It's Flacco.
I mean, maybe Judy. Maybe you have a little bit more conviction than Tillman. I mean, this dude chucks the ball, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if he's throwing the ball 50 times a game. I mean, what does that mean?
Gonna have to.
Do y'all have any takes on this one?
I think you kind of said it right. Yeah. This is the Daniel Jones bump, similar to all skill positions. So, yeah. You can feel a little better about Jerry Jeudy. You can feel a little bit better about Cedric Tillman and Njoku.
Yeah, skill players, but I still don't want to draft.
That's it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've always assumed that this was going to be the case, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like Russell Wilson. Like, at some point,
until they go 0-12. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. This one hits a little bit more closer to home because of how much puka we all have. Stafford is practicing again on Tuesday, so he's practiced Monday and Tuesday. Los Angeles Rams quarterback Matt Stafford is practicing again on Tuesday, according to Adam Grossbard of the Los Angeles Daily News. Stafford practiced for the first time at training camp this summer on Monday after recovering from an aggravated disc in his back. The 37-year-old was extremely limited and made only around 20 throws on Monday as the Rams eased him back in. Head coach Sean McVay said Stafford's workload is, quote, a very fluid situation and demands flexibility. So anything on this one, y'all?
No, I mean, it's as expected, right? To me.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I was seeing the whole way, and I think he's going to start Week 1. He's a high injury risk, right, going forward, but
Yeah, I think they're going to do whatever they can to get him across the finish line, at least into week 1, and then just take it from there. I mean, he's obviously their best chance of doing anything this year. So, whatever they have to do to make it happen health wise for him, I think they're gonna do it. And Stafford's a warrior, like from all of his Detroit days, and he's not going to go down without swinging back. So, yeah.
And if he does, Devontae Adams may retire with him.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I think that's about it for the injuries and the news wrap up. Next, we're going to go to a new segment on the show. We're going to call it Blake's Stat Corner. We're going to
I hope we come up with a better name.
Well, we're going to call it Blake's Stat Corner for now. We're just going to let Blake cook. He didn't put a whole lot in the doc, so I'm interested to see what he's got for us on this one.
Yeah, so this will be a first look for these guys as well. Built a few simple dashboards that we could look at. I thought they had some interesting stuff. So right here, we can look at starting from 2005, the plays per game. So pace. This is really what we're chasing in all of our fantasy football games. For your DFS plays, you want to find the very fast-paced games. And you can see, from 2005, I would have expected it to go up a lot more, but 64 and last season was at 64. So it really hasn't moved too much, over that span of time. And then TDs per game, same thing, right? It really hasn't gone too much. We had a median of 4.6 and last year 5.2. So about a half a TD game more.
That's interesting because I remember, was it last year? No, not last year, but the year before maybe. It just felt like scoring was down.
That's what I went look at, right? Yeah. And even last year, everybody's talking about the too high shell now, right? You got the too high safeties is killing all the pass plays. Scoring's less, things like that. So those are kind of things we'll eventually start to get into. If we look at our explosive pass rate, it really hasn't changed. 2010, right? We're looking at 7-8%, and 7.5% last year. So it really hasn't dipped much. An explosive pass rate, I think, is defined as a pass greater than 20 yards. The shotgun rate, 2010, it went up 30%. It was 40% of snaps taken out of the shotgun. Now it's up to 70%. I thought that was kind of cool. No huddle has gone up quite a bit too, from 4% to 11%. And seconds per play, right? The speed of which they move really hasn't changed too much. It's gone up a little bit. So one thing kind of wanted to look at is indoor versus outdoor. Do you score more points in a dome, for example? And if we look at plays per game, the plays about the same going through. We can look at TDs. So this upper band is, one standard deviation above, and this lower band's one standard deviation below. So inside of this band is where 68% of all the games played are, right? So you could think of it as like almost the middle third. So you can see these bands get a little higher for sure. And this is the net indoor minus outdoor. So you can see the 0 here. So anything positive means it favors the indoor. So there's definitely, a little bit more TDs for the indoor. And then going on, looking at indoor counts by games, this is like a very lazy analysis. We'll go into much deeper on the website, put out some good research reports on all this kind of stuff to help actually find an edge. But, for week 17, we're looking at Houston and Detroit being the only two teams who have 3 games inside of a dome. Week 17 being that critical one, and then weather's usually really bad at that time. But there's a lot of noise and stuff in between here, sample size kind of issues that we'll have to go through and add context to, strength of opponents. So we'll dive into it a lot deeper, but this is just a quick preview. One thing that I was really curious about is because it's kind of my thesis going into this year again. It's the workhorse RBs, right? So, we could set them in carries to 300 here. And you can see from 1999 to 2024, you can see them all here, right? And so if it's above this line, that means they actually got better. Or this is in terms of rushing yards right now. So they actually had more rushing yards the next year. If it's below this line, they had less rushing yards. And so right here, you can see kind of the median delta is negative 302 yards, which isn't nothing. But the good news is, you kind of look at here, this is what their rushing yards actually were, 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, right? So you have some pretty good seasons there, but there's definitely a drop off. We could bump this up to 350. and you can see the drop off is a little bit more, right? Let's go to something a little bit more tangible here. You're looking at an average or a median, not an average, of 98.4 points less from any running backs who have more than 350 carries
the following year.
Yeah, exactly. So like if we're looking here, that would be Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, and Saquon.
For next year, you mean?
For next year, yeah.
Right.
Based on kind of this really lazy, quick analysis, you can tell they're gonna do less drop, which I think we'll all agree. Saquon probably won't hit 2,500 yards again, right? And that's including playoffs. There, these carries are including playoffs. You can see Saquon with 2,500 yards, 436 attempts. But even if he drops, I'll take a 2,000-yard season. I don't think that's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to, I'll take that, I guess. Yeah,
I think what this clearly shows is you probably are drafting them at their peak with that,
right?
Now whether that ties into something injury wise or anything, we can't say that from this data. But there definitely is a drop off. More often than not, unless you're Derrick Henry. Sean Alexander has some really good seasons out there too. So I think the one that really hurts is this one right here. Right, they lost 440 points.
Who is that?
That is what I think is 2023 CMC. Right, when he didn't play the season
for injury,
basically.
Yeah. So this takes into account injury, obviously.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So it's just because that's kind of what I'm looking at too. It's built into the thesis. If this person gets so many carries, they're worn down, they're not going to perform as well the next year. And so, injuries are baked into this, and that's probably a cause of some of it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
So, yeah, sure.
Did you, when you looked at indoor data versus outdoor, and you overlaid that, I don't know if you did this, but did you find that teams score more indoor versus, or was it like negligible difference?
Yeah, so that was and the reason why I did TDs because who cares about kickers, right? Sorry, Pat McAfee. You can see
only on Showdown
that they definitely score a little bit more, right? Like the median game is showing, last year was, what is it, 0.3. So it means, basically every third game has an extra touchdown. That's indoors. So, but there's so much so much more to unpack. There's, it could be an absolutely terrible game indoors. Meaning two really weak offenses versus really good defenses. The pace of play for those two teams could be extremely slow. So that's where we got to go by team and add some context to this, which we will do in the future. And we'll put out some good reports on this. But I think there is a little bit to say because if you can just see this upper band here, right? This high point right here is 2.5, in 2019. The high point here for last year is 1.73. That means, and this is like the top 68th percentile game. So that's not even, 3/4 away. That's not a 98th percentile outcome. That's a pretty reachable outcome. And you're talking a touchdown and a half more on the indoors. My plan is to take this, do some, a lot more in-depth research reports and put those on the website for everybody to look at. We're going to share our edge with everybody and we'll see where that takes us.
Okay. Well, that was Blake's Stat Corner, brought to you by the signalcallers.com. All right, let's hop into the main topic of today's show. We're going to talk about some what if. The main idea behind this is we are exploring what would happen to fantasy outcomes if the general consensus ideas are wrong. So the first what if we're going to dive into is what if the Chiefs offense doesn't improve, right? That's the thesis behind this. What if they are similar to last year, kind of disappointing? I think the general idea is that they had a pretty underwhelming offensive year last year, and their skill position players are being drafted as if they have figured it out, right? So we've got Mahomes, his ADP is 74. Kelsey's ADP is around 77, which puts him around tight end 6, 7, right? And then Worthy's getting drafted around 40. I think a lot of that has to do with the news of Rashee Rice with the looming suspension. One of the biggest storylines going into last season was the Chiefs' quest for the three-peat, right? And at times it sort of felt like there was like a higher power putting his thumb on the scale for some of these games. I mean, they had a 10-0 record in one-score games. That is the record in the NFL in one-score games. Some of these were just insane. Like, look at this. In Week 13, the Raiders game, I'm not sure if y'all remember that one. The Raiders missed 3 field goals, including one with 2 minutes left. Gave the ball back to Kansas City to ice the game, and instead of icing the game, they just decided to throw a deep bomb, and it went incomplete. And it only took about 15 seconds off the clock. Raiders get the ball back. They drive into long field goal range, only for the center to inadvertently snap the ball, and Aiden O'Connell wasn't ready, and it just ended the game. Right. I mean, maybe it's a long shot that the Raiders get to the point where they kick that field goal, but the Chiefs got bailed out for doing a dumb pass play under 2 minutes. Literally the next week, the Chargers hit a field goal to go up 2 with 4 minutes left. The Chiefs convert 3 straight third downs and drive down to kick a field goal, which bounces off the upright and doinks in, and they win the game. So I'm pretty sure that clinched the division for them as well. So yeah, just a completely unsustainable way to win. This is an interesting quote from Bill Barnwell. He says in a recent article talking about the potential regression of the Chiefs, he says, if you remove Week 17 where they rested everyone, the Chiefs went 15-1 and had a point differential of a 10.7 win team. Every other 14 plus win team since 1989 had a point differential of 100 points or more, with the average point differential coming in at 190 per 17 games. KC had a point differential of 59. So, I mean, just an insane run last year, finishing the year 15-2. They got a tougher schedule this year. I'm just wondering, how do these ADPs feel if nothing changes on this offense? You know, you're looking back at some of these stats from Mahomes. He only had 26 touchdowns last year, tied for the lowest in his career, threw for less than 4,000 yards, lowest in his career. Kelsey had his worst finish as a tight end since 2015. All of these guys look terrible in the Super Bowl in the last game of the year. I just want to see y'all's take on this. How do these ADPs feel if they don't change anything?
Rich, right? All the best stacking partners for Mahomes go before him. Pacheco, Kelsey is right around him. Obviously, Rice, even with his suspension, people are still taking him in the 50s, 60s. Worley's in the 30s, 40s. I don't know if they all hit, right? And then we talk about like their strength of schedule this year. I mean, look how they start the season. They've got the Chargers, who are going to be pretty good. They got the Eagles, who just destroyed them in the Super Bowl. Then they got the Giants, which should be a win. Then they got the Ravens. Then they got the Jags, who'll be much improved. Then they got Lions, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Broncos. Yeah. Like, it's tough. They're objectively favored in 2 of those games.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I do think there's like this mystique with the Chiefs. I mean, look at the Rice suspension, right? Like, he gets fortunate and he gets to play the first 4 games of the season, presumably. It's rich. They're kind of like the Bears of last year. It's like we were all trying to get all those Bears, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, all these guys, and they didn't all hit, but they were going at price tags that they had to. So,
okay.
You know.
All right. I'm going to step in here. Right. I think that's blasphemy. They're not the Bears. It's still Patrick freaking Mahomes.
No.
It's Patrick freaking Mahomes and Andy Reid. They had a bad year.
I'm not saying the Chiefs are the Bears. I'm saying we're drafting them in best ball, like similarly how we drafted the Bears. Where
I do think it is a little like, I do think it's a little simplified to say that they just had a bad year. I mean, this is kind of a trend for them. This is the second bad year in a row, right? It's not, this year was a lot worse than the year before, but we are trending away from Mahomes throwing 50 touchdowns in a year. Like, that offense does not look the same. So that was just my thought process. You know, maybe they do figure it out. Like you said, they are the Chiefs. This is Patrick Mahomes. There still isn't a quarterback in the league that you wouldn't want to start a franchise with, right? And they've done this before. You know, in 2021 they went 8-0 in one-score games. Like you said, I mean, I do think that a lot of this has to do with just the fact that they are the Chiefs. It's kind of like well, here they go again. The Chiefs, they got too much time. You left too much time on the clock for Mahomes. You know, you left too much time for Brady. We used to do this with Brady. So it's the mystique of the Chiefs. You know, you kind of feel like you have to beat the Chiefs and in the universe when you play them.
To me, it's been a little bit more than just I'll say the Mystique, right? Yeah, Mahomes has been worse for sure. I don't think they've needed to be great on offense because their defense has actually been outstanding.
Right.
But now their division keeps getting better every year. Even the worst team last year, the Raiders, I don't know what you want to call it. Terrible showing that they had in the last few minutes against the Chiefs, like you were mentioning. That's why they got a new coach, and they've upgraded greatly at coach with Pete Carroll, right? And they got Chip Kelly on offense. So they're going to be a decent team, and not to mention a much better quarterback in Geno. So they're going to be a much better team. Denver's still going to have an amazing deal. Like they got a very, very, very tough schedule, right? However, this is, to me, you close your eyes and bet on talent, no matter what. So Rashee Rice is playing, at least the first 4 games this year, and he's going to be really good. Kelsey, I think Kelsey's toast. I want nothing to do with Kelsey, especially at that ADP.
This Kelsey ADP is crazy to me. I mean, I don't want to cut you off. I'll let you get back to it. But, I mean, I just want to point out some of these guys that he's getting drafted over. Like Hawkinson, he's going like 12 spots over. Which is a round. Ingram, he's going like a round before. Mark Andrews, Tyler Warren. I mean, all of these dudes you want ahead of him, right? Loveland, obviously he's a rookie, but there's a lot of promise there. Njoku, I mean, it's crazy. We've been in drafts on this channel where Kelsey was like the 5th tight end taken off the board in the 4th or 5th round, which is insane to me.
Yeah, and that's my point. To stack this offense, you're going to invest a lot of high draft capital, right?
I think it's been a big thing of how defenses are playing Mahomes too, right? They're playing him differently than they used to, and it's taken an effect. We talked about the too high shell stuff. Now it seems that if you run over a 4-3, you're not going to make the team on the Chiefs, with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton. Yeah, right. They're the only one they'll kind of make an exception for is Rashee Rice, who's absolutely incredible at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
So I think they're planning to just kind of do like an all verts kind of Madden approach here and just send everybody and then hit Rashee and Kelsey on the undersides. But I think Worthy, he's being projected, right, based on his stats, and he finishes the wide receiver 33 last year. And he didn't even play, like he wasn't getting scheme things until the end of the year. And I think he missed a game or 2.
Right.
I think he's fine. I think he's a smash. Keep going with him. Rashee, he would be a smash too if he was there. I think the big difference now is the Chiefs offense is actually more condensed than it used to be.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't know who would score. Byron Pringle would score 2 touchdowns randomly in one game, stuff like that. So now I think it's more condensed, and I think that's why even with the lower production from Mahomes, you're still seeing these guys higher.
Yeah, I think that's a good wrap up to this one. Again, I'm not predicting them to miss the playoffs or anything like that. I think that there's a chance that they could be closer to the middle of the pack, and I just wanted to walk through that thought process of like, how does that feel looking back on these ADPs if that were to happen? Let's move on to the next one. Blake, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. I just want to say I love these exercises going through these mental models because you have to build a narrative. So every team drafting in best ball or whatever, I'm always building some kind of narrative. Like, this is how I believe the season's going to go. So this is how I'm attacking it. One of my main narratives this year is, what if all these, old RBs finally hit their age cliff? When we did the stats look just, a second ago, we looked at, we saw all of them kind of regress to the mean after these crazy workload seasons. And so I'm looking at like James Conner. I'm drafting a lot of Trey Benson, Alvin Kamara. I like Kendre Miller a lot. Josh Jacobs. So I'm drafting a lot of Marshawn Lloyd. I just hope he can stay healthy. The guy, he finally makes a big play in preseason when he's healthy and he gets hurt.
Paper hamstring.
So, Mixon, Marks, CMC, Guerrero, Barkley, Shipley, Dobbins, RJ Harvey, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell. Like, those are the guys that I'm looking at. I'm not going to say I'm 0 RB this year. I'm just selective in my RBs. They have to, like, Gibbs had a good workload last year. He wasn't, over that 300 mark. Wasn't anything crazy. Same thing with Bijan. O'Marion's coming in. I like the younger guys. And so that's my focus for this year going in.
I think the 0 RB Barrows got killed last year, right? My
yes, I did.
Is to mix your youngs with your olds. Like, I don't want to be out on all these guys, and I guess it just kind of comes down to player takes, right? I guess it's kind of a back by back situation. I mean, Connor, I'm still in on. Kamara, obviously, the pass catching upside. Are you saying that you prefer the backups in all of these scenarios, or?
No, I'm saying in the same ADP range, I'm going with other people if they're there. Like, so I think Jacobs and O'Marion are kind of around the same ADP at least. Gotcha. I'll go O'Marion Hampton more.
Interesting.
If this comes to fruition, my teams are going to look pretty good. Because I'm not in on any of these guys when I'm in the back half of the first round. I'm not looking to take Henry, which again, I have faded Henry for almost what feels like a decade at this
Whole
point,
career.
thinking it was going to be the
Yeah.
time, right? And he just keeps shoving it, right? So
Well,
maybe this is the year. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have any of him. I don't have any Barkley. If this happens, if this is the age cliff, then I feel pretty good about my chances come December.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'm not out on these guys except for Mixon, right? I am out on Mixon completely, but it's just I'm taking less than a lot of people, so I'm not like overweight. I may, I'm underexposed to those and overexposed to their, their backups. Like CMC though, I just can't draft him. I would love him, but I just never get a chance to draft him. I actually think he's somebody I would almost remove from this list.
One point on Henry, I think it's laughable when Henry goes like in a PPR format, like DraftKings, like when he goes above
First round.
CMC, Puka, Neighbors, Amon-Ra, like, come on.
Yeah.
And look,
it's
Henry's
tough.
probably going to bear us all again this year, but like fundamentally, like you should never pick Henry over those guys.
Trust the process. I mean, I'm not wrong. It's the world that's wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. What about you, Trey? Do you have one that we want to touch on?
Yeah, it's not as like juicy as these, or even as macro, but
Coming in with the sleeper take, the sleeper narratives. I like it. The other end of the draft.
my what if is, what if Cleveland is the bad team you need this year in best ball?
Gross.
And specifically, this is tied to a player take about Harold Fannin. Look, David Njoku, I think his contract is over this year. And Harold Fannin, they draft him in the second or third round. This dude had the most productive collegiate tight end season in history. And I know sometimes like we need to be careful with what these beat reporters are saying, because at the end of the day, they're journalists. Like they have degrees in journalism. They're not like talent evaluators or scouts.
He outproduced Warren last year.
I'm pretty sure.
He played on he played in a lower level, but I think he definitely had.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah,
like by a significant margin too, like in terms of yards.
Yeah, I'll Google this. This is news to me. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew he was I thought he was just a freak athlete.
We got to be careful with the beat writer drum beat, but it's like the drum beat on this dude has been just as loud as anybody's. Like you think about all the guys who've been like super hyped this year, Travion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka. They're moving him all over the field. They have been since minicamp. He's getting consistent reps with the ones, and like the coach speak is like, yeah, he's like a weapon for us, right? Like and it's like no one cares. It's like they see him and they just think, oh, backup tight end on Cleveland, they're gonna suck. I'm not gonna draft them. And it's like, well, who do you think Cleveland's gonna be playing in Week 15 when they're 3-12? Deontay Johnson, like who I think probably gonna get cut.
Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started about this, because I'm going to start talking about Jugpins and get pissed. But what a clown show franchise, by the way. But
so Harold Fannin had 117 receptions and 1,555 reception yards with 10 touchdowns, right? So he led the FBS Division 1A, right, in receptions and yards last year.
Those are both single season tight end records.
So Tyler Warren on the other spectrum, 104 receptions. So they were pretty close in receptions, actually. He only had 13 less, but 300 less receiving yards and 2 less touchdowns.
Didn't Warren break the single game? I think he had like 17 or 18 receptions in the game. I think it was Penn State. Was it the USC game? Maybe. If you think of like even just single week DFS play, a lot of times it is the gross, disgusting play that comes out of
$2,800 tight end.
Yeah, and I mean, especially late in the season, like these are gross games, right? Their Week 17 partner is Pittsburgh. Like it's ranked as like the worst Week 17 stack. But what are the odds that you got to have a guy from that week? What are those odds?
And that's kind of my takeaway is that like look, this is a guy that like if I'm on the clock in the 17th, 18th round, and I'm like, and I have one of those tight end rooms that's kind of like mid, like a Dallas Goedert and a Jake Ferguson, and I'm like, oh, I need some juice to this group. I'm clicking Harold Fannin. Like, he's a better pick than Elijah Arroyo and all these guys that are going ahead of him. Theo Johnson, and I like Theo Johnson, but like Darren Waller, unretired Darren Waller is going ahead of.
Hey, man, he just started practicing.
Yeah, I don't know about the Theo Johnson pick because Theo Johnson's running all these routes, but I'll agree with you on like Arroyo.
You brought this up in the last draft where, like, if you just want to throw a stack together in the last 2 rounds, you could do Shadur and Fannin. And yeah, maybe it's a 0. But what if they're trying to see what they got at the end of the season and they throw him in some games and like Njoku has a contract out in this year, I believe. So like,
and that's just it. Like, Cleveland's got to know the 3rd round pick in this guy, they got to play him, right? And even if I have an elite, like if I have a Bowers or a McBride,
right,
I'm totally cool tacking on Fannin and stopping that too.
Yeah,
like,
that's when I feel like the best about it, right? Even if you were to go Bowers and then you get somebody in like a Chig, a Okonkwo or something like that in like the 13, 14, 15 rounds, and you're like, okay, I just want to have a 3rd tight end, throw Fannin on at the end. I mean,
it's such an easy.
If you get to the point where you need Fannin over Bowers, your season's probably in the toilet upside down regardless. Exactly. But maybe he throws a week 17 game in there, or just like he gives you a spike week somewhere.
Yeah, just to bring it home, like, I mean, Turd Ferguson and all these guys, right? Like, we all, I know we always talk about getting like guys from good offenses in best ball, and you do need that. But just like we talk about mixing your youngs with your olds, I think you need to mix in some of your bad team guys. I don't really want Fannin to go get any higher because but at that cost, like, all you really need is for him to hit your lineup once, like a multi-touchdown week,
right?
And that might be the score to advance you.
It's not inconceivable that he falls into the end zone twice for some, like Jawan Johnson did it a couple of times 2 or 3 years ago for the Saints, and like he was who you needed that week.
Right. And it's like, those are the kinds of picks I want to be making in the back half. And like you said, it's so easy to pay off that cost and you swinging for the upside. The takeaway is like, yeah, you've got to mix in some of these guys. I mean, look how Jerry Jeudy finished last year. He was on a bad Cleveland team. He didn't do anything until like week 11. Then he had like a 40-point spike week, and like, that's significant, right? So,
well, that's why significance. Flacco is starting instead of Kenny Pickett. But just to put a bow on this, another kind of nugget for you here, Trey. Harold Fannin only played 3 years in college. He's 2 years younger than Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren played 5 years, or was in college for 5 years. He had 2020 COVID years.
I like this one. I'm a fan of these rookies and the unproven what-ifs and the unknowns. I always fall for that. Blake, let's go to you next. And I think you got another one.
Yeah, I do here. So this is kind of the hot topic, right? Everybody's talking about. And so I'm just giving my take on it. It's, what if all the incumbents of these trade rumors don't move? So, Brees, ATN, JCM, Krosky Merritt, old Bill. They really haven't said Brees is up for trade, but just his comments where he was mentioning kind of made it sound like he's not going to be there next year. It sounds like they maybe talked about contracts next year and they're not going to re-sign him. If that's the case and somebody came knocking with a good, draft pick, why wouldn't they trade him? Mm-hmm. Is kind of my theory with that, at least. I see nobody moving as the most likely case. So let me just state that. That's my assumption, and that's the narrative I'm running with here. So with nobody moving, Brees, he's been dropping because all his Braylon Allen noise. Brees is still the 99.9% percentile, RAS score guy. He's just absolutely unreal. I'm closing my eyes once again and betting on talent. Braylon Allen's not going to, take over the backfield from Brees Hall. It's just not happening. Now, if you want to tell me the Jets are going to suck on offense and, all kinds of other stuff, hey, I'm with you. But I'm not going to pass up on, a super talented freak athlete at 44, I think is his ADP now. Buying Brees here. The Jags is a little different situation. Everybody was thinking ATN and Bigsby would get traded, ATN specifically because of contract. But I don't think anybody there is getting moved. I think they're just going to keep everybody. We don't really know who's starting either. That's kind of the scary part. The only differentiator to me is they're probably going to use ATN in the passing game a lot more, and he seems to be the front runner. So I'm more likely to go ATN and Tootin for the upside. I'm just out on Bigsby. They might use him as a goal line back, but he doesn't really have pass catching chops. At least he hasn't shown them before. So whether Liam Cohen unlocks that in him, we'll see. But I'll take shots on 18 and Tootin here, but I'm not really loving it. So they kind of have to fall in ADP for me to take them. And I have to, be RB needy there. So for the commies, this trade rumor isn't just smoke. It's straight up fire. We're watching everything burn here. They've put their two best producers, that's not named Jaden Daniels, out to the cold. So Terry McLaurin's still on the outside looking in, and now they've excused Brian Robinson from the preseason games and things like that. So they could cut him. You see people talking about cutting him. They would save $3.1 million in cap space. So, hey, maybe every penny counts to go towards Terry McLaurin. But that's not a lot of money. For example, Najee just got 1.5 base and I think like 3.5 signing for 1 year. So I kind of see them as the same quality back almost. So why wouldn't you just take Brian Robinson on his $3 million contract? Why wouldn't you just keep him there for depth? So it doesn't feel good for Brian Robinson anymore, but if he gets traded, that's probably the best case scenario for him. So I'm willing to take shots on him, but it's not near where he was going. I think he was going at 100. I don't know what he's at right now. But other than that, like Eckler is probably my main target out of this backfield, to be honest. I think his role is probably going to grow, if anything. The other two guys, right, JCM and Chris Rodriguez, I think JCM is probably going to be the main runner, but I think they really do like Chris Rodriguez a lot based on the tendering, in the offseason, stuff like that. So I think it's not like JCM came in and is blowing everybody's minds, and that's why they're getting rid of Brian Robinson. It's a combination of, hey, we already like Chris Rodriguez. Now we have JCM, who's like a really good backup. We got too many running backs here because the other two guys, McNichols and Eckler, are passing back. So we need to get rid of one. I think that's kind of the only thing that's happened. And so, I'll take my shots on JCM. I'll take shots on Eckler. I think they're all going in like the 140s now. So Eckler's my first click there, and then maybe JCM. So what do y'all think?
If the presumption is that no one gets traded, who of all these guys impacted by these three team scenarios, do you think like the ambiguous aspect of the backfield and like the fact that someone in them ahead of them might get removed isn't already baked into their cost? Because like you said, I'm buying the dip on Brees. I like where he's at regardless of what happens. Where we're taking Tootin, which is around like 150, feels like an okay bet, even if Etienne doesn't move, because the injury factor, right?
And the athlete factor. Same thing with Brees. Is kind of what you're going. You want the freak athlete who can give you those big splash plays and take over your weeks. So I agree there.
Yeah, I feel like the two guys like that. It's a shaky bet now because of this like ascension with JCM is like it's him. I don't know where his closing line is going to land, but I've seen him grow as high in the 60s in some drafts, which is wild.
Let me look up and see where he's at.
That's just bad too. I heard Adam Levitan talking the other day about kind of the game theory of DFS a bit, and he made an interesting point. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, and maybe we'll look into it. But so many people have JCM in the 160s, 170s, 200s. So are you really actually gaining anything taking him at 60 over? I can't think of anybody going that range, but it's just like that's some. Rashid Rice is at 55 right now, for example. I think I just looked at.
This is crazy. I just pulled Krosky Merritt up in the Solver Best Ball Explorer. Shout out ETR as always. His ADP on 723, 228. His ADP as of yesterday 150, and his ADP changes 77 spots. And
so this is my whole
was
point.
Mentioning before we hit record, he saw him go in the 90s or the 70s.
75.
75. That's crazy.
And then 2 drafts before that, he went 124 and 115. So it's just like I can never time him right. I want him because I'm comfortable taking him. I think like in the 115s, 120, 25 range.
You would take him that early?
That's where I've landed as an RB3 because I think like the upside with what we know now kind of matches that price. I don't think I could take him above. Who else goes around? Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah. I probably want Scattaboo.
I saw Ramondre fall like into the 190s the other night. I scooped him up. That was like a 60 spot past his ADP. To go back to Tootin real quick, just to pull up his ADP. Like you said, he's at 148. Ray Davis is going around him. Tajay Spears, Krosky Merritt. They're literally back to back 150. You're not getting Krosky Merritt at 150 right now.
Right. That's because he's been pulled up to the 90s, hundreds, and like that's the average or median, right? So
I think I still want Tootin. especially at cost. And then you can even get him a little bit later sometimes, because I feel like Tootin was the hot name for a while. Now there's some other names that have kind of emerged as like the hot names on Twitter. So he's kind of getting a little bit forgotten about. Not for the sickos like us. We will never forget you, Bayshore Tootin. But yeah, I think I'm probably out on Krosky Merritt. You just got to grab him way too early to even secure that spot, because like Trey said, you just don't know at what point he's going to go.
And if Brian Robinson's never traded, then you are not getting that value for
that's
him.
A 0 in the ninth round.
I'm not going to say 0, because maybe he comes in for a bit and stuff, or maybe he takes part of the. But yeah, you're not getting ninth round value for him.
He's one of those guys, like you know my policy about like as guys rise, I tend to fade. I actually think it's okay to take him, because even the guys who were getting him in the 220s, they weren't getting him often. And I do think the upside, like if the path is cleared for him, is real. Like I think, like if he's in, like let's just say B-Rob gets traded, and that feels very real. I mean, they're very public with it. They dismissed him from the game,
which is to me the more.
Yeah. He's not there.
Like this,
because
we talked about the dopamine hit of the unknowns, right? We didn't get to see it his senior year, so it's even an even bigger unknown. So for this guy as a 7th round pick to come in and blaze it in camp and like render an incumbent starter, and for a while that fan base was galvanized behind him after he got shot and came back and he was productive.
He was serviceable. You know, he was a good running back. He wasn't bad, and he brought some toughness to the offense.
Right. But for JCM to come in and make that guy expendable, like that's something you have to pay attention to.
But that's the narrative I'm fighting there. I don't think that's true. I think it's Chris Rodriguez plus JCM. I think the fact that they have two good options.
But Chris Rodriguez has been there when B-Rob was starting. He's been there.
I know, but they want two good options is kind of my thing. They want two good runners, because they had B-Rob and they had Chris Rod. So they're like, okay, we got two guys who can tote the rock if one goes down.
I just don't think, like, from a cost thing, like, sure, I want to be targeting Rodriguez now because I can still get him cheap. But I don't think, like, Rodriguez is the guy that's making this dude expendable. I think it's JCM and what the hype he's generating.
I mentioned recently, I don't know if it was on the pod or before, but trades in the NFL seem like they're pretty sparse. They're pretty few and far between. But for some reason, there were 2 trades today randomly, or was it just one? Maybe I know the Saints had one.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about
insane trade. But yeah, it just seems like there's a lot more movement around the NFL right now. So I don't know. Maybe this does happen. Maybe it doesn't.
One final touch up here, talking about the trades. There was actually rumors of Kenneth Walker on the block, right. Today too as well. So that's another running back that's even better than Brian Robinson. So the trade happening is negligible, like not happening in my book. That's the way I'm playing this.
Exactly. I think the more likely path is he gets cut unless someone offers a 6th. I mean, the NFL just doesn't value backs. I mean, think of the teams that may need one, right? Like, are they really going to give up a 6th or better asset?
Dallas really needed one, and they only spent a 7th round draft pick on Jalen.
We don't know what the hell's going on in Houston.
Woody Marks, man, 7th round.
Pierce going to start.
Somebody knows something about Woody Marks that they're not telling us. Let's move on to the last one. My last what if is, what if the Saints are the bad team that you need this year? And the reason that this is a what if is because I think it's very easy to pile on the Saints as being, quote unquote, the worst organization in the NFL. And look, we are Saints fans. We know this. We live this for the last 5 years since Drew Brees. It hasn't been fun. But I think that there is some fantasy gold on this roster that I think a lot of people are not paying attention to, because it's just easy to kind of push them to the side and forget about them and make fun of them because Tyler Shuck has memeable moments and he has really, really bad highlights or lowlights. He's a 26-year-old rookie. I get it. But let's just touch on these ADPs, right? So Alvin Kamara is going 48. Chris Olave is going 77, which I have seen him dip further than that. He is at 114. Kendre is in the last round, 220. What if this offense resembles something closer to the first 2 weeks of last year than it did for the rest of the year last year? I do skew a little more optimistic about this team just because it's more fun when the teams that you root for are good and not terrible, right? So I want them to be good. So I think this all centers around how the O-line shapes up. And if the O-line, A, stays healthy, and B, plays up to the potential of their lofty price tag. It's no secret that the Saints have spent a ton of draft capital in this O-line, 4 first-round picks, and a second on their center. This O-line plays up to its potential. What does that mean for guys like Alvin Kamara, who I think could have, I'm not going to say a career year because the highs that he had under Sean Payton and with Drew Brees and on those 2017, 2018 teams, like he's not going to get there again, right? But last year, FF graded him as a top 20 running back. He had a 1,400 total yard season. He was a diamond in the rough in a lot of these like quote unquote RB dead zones, right? So, Kellen Moore is, by all accounts, in most NFL circles, seen as a genius on the offensive side of the ball. He's seen as a really smart guy who knows how to take advantage of the personnel that he has. And on a team that's somewhat devoid of talent, I think that Alvin Kamara could like really skyrocket and have a really good year because they're either going to be starting Tyler Shuck or Rattler. And the biggest security blanket that Kellen Moore can give to these guys is AK around the line of scrimmage. So he's going to catch a lot of dump offs. He's just going to be a security blanket for him. He could catch 100 balls this year, right? So my question is, what if everybody's wrong on this offense? I feel like Olave could be a league winner if he stays healthy, which obviously no guarantee. Shaheed, we saw what he was doing in a healthy offense. He's become a better wide receiver. He's not just a burner anymore. He has a full route tree. We don't need to keep harping on the health factor of it. That's obvious, right?
It's for any player too.
Right. They play in the worst division in the NFL, right? And obviously they have a lot to say about why that's the worst division in the league. But they also play the Falcons and the Panthers 4 times total.
And the Bucks. Everybody's toasting the Bucks in the air.
But I mean, the Panthers and the Falcons, a lot of people view them in the bottom 5 teams in the league as well, just as the Saints. Then they play the Giants, they play the Jets, they play the Titans. There's a chance that they could potentially be closer to 500 than closer to a top 1 pick. This is a lot of projection, right? This is a lot of wish casting, potentially. But there is a world where this offense is the one that you need, whether it be Shuck, whether it be Rattler, whether you don't use them and you just stack the Rashid and Olave. Like, these dudes are cheap. You can tack on Kendre in the last round. I have a feeling that he could have a resurgent year. He's had a great camp. So how do you guys feel about that? Is everybody just wrong? What's the likelihood that everybody is wrong, I guess, would be the question.
So very similarly to your Patrick Mahomes take, and Chiefs take, just on the other end of the spectrum, right?
Right.
This team just feels so bad. Everybody's extra downtrodden on them, and my bags are so full of Olave right now, and so full of Shaheed. So right now, Olave is being drafted as the wide receiver 41. The only way that happens is if he misses games.
Yep.
If he plays every game, his efficiency metrics, everything like that, he's going, especially with a finally offensive-minded head coach who can actually come up with schemes, right? And not a great defense inside of a dome, so you never have weather games or anything to worry about. Like, he's going to be a top 30 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, that is not a question in my mind.
In his healthy seasons, I believe his rookie year, he was a wide receiver 25, if I'm not mistaken, in full PPR. And then in his second year, he was wide receiver 16.
Yeah. He's
obviously
extremely talented.
The concussion, the concussion issue is real with him. I always worry every time he gets hit that he's not going to get back up. I want him to play more defensively, like shield himself better. I don't know what it's going to take, but wear a guardian cap or 2 guardian caps.
Well, talking about this, I had this conversation the other day with another buddy talking about concussions. We were talking about Tua, right?
Yeah.
The whole reason Tua came back is because he is not more likely to have more concussions.
Right.
The only time you are more susceptible to concussions is right after another concussion.
Right.
But if you have, going back to your baselines, everything, all your cognitive abilities, all that, your brain's slowing down, Like, you are not more susceptible,
Preach,
than you. Yeah. So, like, I'm all in. I'm still drafting Tua, for the same reason. Like, these guys are just so beaten down because, they had a couple concussions. And look, if they do get one, right, they may be out for longer because they're going to take care of the player.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But it's also not a performance inhibitor. It's not a high ankle sprain. It's Olave at 41 and Shaheed, wide receiver 41, and then Shaheed is being drafted wide receiver 52. I need to start taking other positions earlier so I can just keep loading these guys up, right? Like, Shaheed's being taken after Chris Godwin, who has not ran yet this year.
I mean,
like, it doesn't make any sense. And Shaheed is just a big play waiting to happen. We've seen Kellen Moore scheme him lower ADOT targets. So he's actually being schemed targets now that, from the preseason utilization.
Just to run through his game log last year really quickly. Game 1, 3 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. Game 2, 4 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. He played in Atlanta, 8 of 11 for 83 yards. 4 of 9 and 1 for 86 yards. I mean, he was having a great year. On a bad team, team. Derek Carr was his QB. I mean, I know the first 2 weeks look a lot better in health, and the O-line kind of fell apart, ironically, against Kellen Moore's Eagles team.
So that's another thing. Let me talk about projections here, right? I know the guys at ETR. I know, there's a lot of people who actually do really, really good projections. And so what they're doing is they're forecasting, like, how many passing plays, right? Okay, so we have the passing plays now. What's the average yards per route run, for example? So, okay, if they're running 90% of routes, they're going to get this many yards. And then you add in a touchdown rate, things like that. Like, these guys are putting in very conservative numbers for the quarterbacks and for the wide receivers here. And they're way above the consensus ADPs in DraftKings basketball right now. So they're just screaming buys. And this is with conservative numbers built in. They're expecting the offense to be bad, and they're way above ADP. They're ranked way above ADP because of the projections. They're super safe. This is the most safe bet in DFS from what I see.
You got something, Trey?
Yeah, like, to answer your question, Kevin, I don't think everyone's necessarily wrong, but I think a lot of people are lazy. Like, and to Blake's point, like, those 2 receivers alone are single-handedly why I'm leaning into, like, RBs earlier, because I know I can scoop that value. Like, and Kellen Moore is an offensive genius. So it's like, why would we not be buying these guys? It's so lazy to say, like, oh, the Saints are supposed to suck. You look at this draft class so far through the preseason, it looks like we've got hits. The only one we're not sure about is Shuck, and he went 9 of 12. Yeah. Olave catches that pass. That's probably a touchdown drive. We're having a different conversation. Oh, maybe Shuck doesn't suck.
Yeah.
He's the one that the jury's still out on. So
on your
I
point,
think he's going to suck, but but it's okay. We're projecting him to suck. These guys are still values, right?
Fantasy
and even if he does, Rattler's got some juice.
Just to tie a bow on these running backs, the Saints were ranked 14th in total rushing yards last year. That was with a worse offensive line. The actionable piece of all this is that I think you should be drafting Saints players.
Another one of those bad teams where you can
maybe not Tyler Shuck, right? Or maybe he'll hit some big games against these bad teams, but
I can't say anything.
The pieces around him.
All I'll say about Shuck is that my exposure percentage has come down a little bit since episode 1. Haven't been taking him as much, but
he can still be announced the starter.
All I'll say about Shuck is that there's been some throws where I'm like, I get it. He's got some arm talent. He's made some elite throws. Do I like the price? Do I like the age? Do I like everything about him? No. Will we be looking at rookie mock drafts next year, looking at the QBs? Probably. I'm just the thesis behind this was, what if the Saints are the bad team that you need? You can get these guys late. You can stack them up with their Week 17 team, which is Tennessee. They've got some interesting pieces. You can double stack them with Cam Ward if you don't want to go the Shuck route. I mean, there are actionable pieces to this. Like, we don't always have to talk about the sexy stacks, right? Sometimes you need these dirty, gross, ugly stacks to make some noise in these tournaments. So that's my what if.
Yeah, I love it. Just my last piece here. So the value you get with these guys, you can think of it as it gives you room to reach on some other guys.
Right.
I was just going to say, these are talented guys. We were drafting Olave in the 3rd last year, right?
Right.
And
with Derek Carr as his
now
QB.
He's going with Derek Carr, and now he's going at 100 because we're scared of repeat concussions. That's not really like a thing.
You can't project injuries, right? But I think a lot of people fall into this trap of, He's injured. He's on a bad team. They're not going anywhere. What if the Saints are closer to the middle of the pack? I'm not saying they're going to go 500. I'm not saying they're going to sneak into the wild card. I'm just saying, what if this offense outproduces where people are expecting it to? And I think that these players are screaming smash picks at their ADPs right now. So that's my take. I promise we won't spend this much time on Saints teams in the future. Probably.
Don't let Olave or Shaheed come out with a 30 ball.
That's right. Hey, don't let Olave put up another season better than Garrett Wilson. That's all I got to say. Okay, we will have the dialogue. All right, we will have it.
Yeah. If this passion here didn't sell you on Olave and Shaheed,
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you, man. You're lost, and I'm scooping up the value behind you.
Yeah.
What is y'all's exposure on Olave and Shaheed?
I'm 31 on Olave.
I am 20.7% on both.
I'm 29% Shaheed. I'm 29% Olave. I have them both in 8 drafts.
And that's significant for me because I'm flat. Like my highest exposed player is.
I mean, we talked about this. We talked about this on week 1. You know, I opened the whole podcast talking about my Tyler Shuck exposure, which, by the way, has come down to 33%. You guys should be proud. You know, claps all around. We're coming down.
You want to hear this, Kevin? So I'm the only one who's been shitting on Tyler Shuck. I'm at 42.4% of fees.
Hey, look,
you can't be man. What the hell, bro?
What's
you can't
up?
be shitting on Shuck with 40%
Yeah.
backs.
No, but I think this makes my point, right? Like these guys are so bad, yeah. But the value is so good to just like Tyler Shuck's probably not going to outplay his ADP. Yeah, he'll be around the bottom barrel of quarterbacks, but he's just so cheap and so easy to stack. It's just I always keep getting screwed on quarterbacks, and I was just like, oh,
exactly.
let me grab Shuck.
That was my whole point in week 1. And look, man. Everybody agrees that Bryce Young had a terrible rookie year. But you know what he did have? A 40-point burger in week 16 that put me into a finals. So that's all I'm going to say. Maybe Shuck pulls one out of his ass at some point during the year.
You see it. Number 2 and number 3.
His ass and into Olave's hands. That's what I need.
Yes. All right, man. Well, I think this was going to wrap this one up.
Sign off on that one.
Yeah. Boom. That's the start. I think this is going to wrap it up. This was a fun conversation, a fun little exercise that we did. You heard it here first. Go draft Saints players.
And the Cleveland Browns are an unserious franchise, but draft Harold Fannin.
I think the next episode, we're going to talk about our favorite players to draft in each round, which should be fun. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe everywhere. We're doing some pretty good numbers on YouTube for only having like 12 subscribers. But
let's go.
We want to keep pumping them up and keep pumping out content. And we're excited to get closer to the regular season. But yeah, we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace.
Peace.